What's up guys, Lvladen here, and today I'm coming at you with a video on my Ret Paladin. This will be my 9.2 guide for Ret in Arena. So I want to start off by talking about the covenants, because I think there are multiple viable covenants for Ret now. Both Kyrian and Necrolord are good, and to some extent Night Fae is okay as well. But this guide will primarily be covering Necrolord, as it is currently the most popular covenant for Ret in PvP, and also in my opinion slightly the best. The Covenant tree that I go here is Plague Deviser Merilith with Righteous Might, Building Words, Templar's Vindication, Echoing Blessings, Virtuous Command, and Light's Barding. Now, I currently don't have my 4-piece set, but in the future I will be coming back to this setup here and examining Truth's Wake with the 4 set. If I had to guess, we might be able to swap our Virtuous Command for Truth's Wake, because Truth's Wake will be proccing quite frequently on the Wake of Ash resets, and Virtuous Command, you're not always judgmenting in melee range, and this only works if you are in melee range to your target. The additional damage does not apply unless you are in melee range to attack. Whereas Vindication actually does slightly work from range when you are hitting a final verdict from that max 12 yards. Alright, so let's get into the talents. So this talent setup right here is pretty much my cookie cutter build for Ret. This is what I run most frequently, but we do have some talents and PvP talents that we do swap out quite frequently. Zeal is baseline and causes your Art of War to reset more, which means with your 2-piece set bonus here and your 4-piece as well, you'll be getting access to Seraphim and more Wake resets. So more auto attacks equals more Wake resets. Seraphims, that's a huge plus. Blade of Wrath, again, more Art of War resets and slightly increased damage on your Blade of Justice. This is also never changed out. The next row here, Fist of Justice, Repent, or Blinding Light. These can each be played, but typically you'll find yourself running Fist of Justice. You can run Blinding Light, but it works out better when you're a Kyrian and can blind someone into a Divine Toll Ring, Clarity, Final Reckoning, all those ranged abilities, so you don't break it. Unbreakable Spirit is also run here. You can swap it out for Eye for an Eye against stuff like Windwalker Monks, Warriors, Hunters, Feral Druids, anything truly physical. But in my opinion, even though I still swap to Eye for an Eye against heavy physical damage dealers, Unbreakable Spirit is overall better. I've chosen in 2's arena to pretty much never run Eye for an Eye anymore and go for a pure kiting build while running Unbreakable Spirit to try and reset or last long enough to reset my Shield of Vengeance and Bubble, rather than base tanking 35% damage reduction, because people who do insane damage right now, especially Windwalker Monks, and Eye for an Eye realistically is not going to save you too much. The 40 tree is between Divine Purpose and Seraphim. Holy Avenger is just not even considered. It's so bad. It's so weak right now. But for the most part, I run Divine Purpose, specifically because we get Seraphim from our 2 set, which procs quite frequently. Divine Purpose gives you more off healing and also more spike damage that is RNG. If it procs during your burst is insane, and your burst is already very good, but Divine Purpose, I run this like 95% of the time. Selfless Healer and Healing Hands are both good here. I find myself running Healing Hands mostly against Rogue Mage, because I'm most likely going to be low when I come out of a chain stun, and I need to Word of Glory myself as much as I can. Whereas Selfless Healer is better against comps that don't kill you instantly out of CC. And another thing about Selfless Healer is you shouldn't necessarily be saving it to 4 stacks in order to cast it. Casting it on 2 or 3 casts, even to bait a kick, or to, with 3 casts, most people can't kick, or 3 stacks, most people can't kick it. 2 stacks, you can easily juke someone, and 4 stacks, it becomes instant. So I usually use my stacks between 2 and 3, depending on if an enemy has a kick, or if I just need to ramp the healing up a little bit more frequently. And lastly, I pretty much default into Sanctified Wrath. Final Reckoning is still okay if you are Kyrian or Night Fae, but for the most part, Sanctified Wrath is part of your burst rotation. Now, it doesn't double proc off of the Vanquisher's Hammer, Templar Verdicts, but it does still contribute to your damage quite often with your Aura of Reckoning procs, and you can stack that up with the Vanquisher's Hammer. Realistically, you're adding another 7 to 10k damage on top of your single global cooldown Templar's Verdict, which adds a Divine Storm and possibly 2 Conduit procs of Templar's Verdict as well from your Virtuous Command, and your Templar Vindication, giving you a multi-strike hit, which can hit, you know, anywhere up to 60k if you add up all the numbers. Alright, now I'll briefly go over the PvP talents. So what you see here is pretty much my default 2v2 arena and battleground build. I like the utility of Law and Order Slow and Unbound Freedom, specifically because you have to kite a lot of Demon Hunters and Hunters in 2's arena right now. And Unbound Freedom and Law and Order help out greatly with those. Now, Ret in 2's, you can't really you know, face tank too much damage. You are running away a lot of the time, specifically if you're playing double DPS like I do. These talents are your best options. Now, against classes like Assassination Rogues, you can drop either Unbound Freedom or Law and Order for Sanctuary, because it is super important to dispel Kidney Shot against Assassin Rogues. Sub-Rogues, not as important in my opinion, because you are likely getting cross-CC'd anyway, so you're not going to be able to press Sanctuary. But if the Kidney Shot is on your partner, then you can immediately dispel with Blessing of Sanctuary, because Assassination Rogues in 2's right now are absolutely nuts. Same deal with Outlaw. I'd run Sanctuary against Outlaw as well. More or less, this is the cookie cutter build I go for 2's. For 3's, it swaps up a little bit. Instead of Law and Order, I will play this setup right here against. Let's see, what's a good example? I'll play this against Jungle Cleave or Rogue Mage. Now against Cleaves, so other double melee DPS comps, if it's not with a Death Knight, I will drop Unbound Freedom and I will go Luminescence. Where's Luminescence here? I'm spacing out. There it is at the top. And then most likely Vengeance Aura or Lawbringer if you're going to be swapping targets a lot, which you kind of do in Cleaves, especially against Turbo. So, for example, Ret Warrior, you're playing Ret Warrior against Turbo Cleave, which is Enhanced Warrior. This is pretty much the setup I would go. Max damage, max burst, probably go Eye for an Eye as well. And just swap targets back and forth, because like, what are you going to Sanctuary? A 4-second Stormbolt or a Warrior Leap Fear? If the Warrior's Leap Fearing, he's probably going to be Stormbolting you. They're going to cross CC a little bit, so you might as well go for the max damage. And you'll find a bunch of other top tier Rets like to run double damage or triple damage talents into other Cleaves as well. If you're finding a Death Knight, Unbound Freedom, and Luminescence, probably your best bet. Against Fury Warriors as well, because you have to try and kite and reset the stacks of, is it called Slaughterhouse? It's whatever the Fury stacking Mortal Strike effect is, but you can kite away from it and let them drop their stacks and make it a little bit easier on your healer. But again, back to the whole kiting thing, in 2's arena, Unbound Freedom is pretty much mandatory, because you're going to be kiting and running away while your partner kills things. If you do play with a healer, you can get away with running something like this, Luminescence, Sanctuary, or Reckoning, and you know, hopefully you don't need the slows or the mobility. I'm going to talk about stats and gear a little bit for Ret. So this is one of the first seasons in a long time that, at least that I can remember, that Ret doesn't have a true stat priority in PvP. You can go either full mastery or full haste or a mix in between and see pretty much the same results. Now there's advantages and disadvantages to each, but the difference is so minuscule that you can play whatever you want and achieve the ratings that you desire with that stat priority. So, for example, the #1 Ret in Europe actually goes full mastery. He runs the same build, same stat allocations that I have here. He actually runs double mastery rings, and that is with the set piece head, mastery neck, the set piece shoulders. I don't have my set piece shoulders yet. He runs verse mastery on your back, Burst Mastery Legendary Chest, Haste Burst on your wrists here, and then the Set Piece Gloves, so that would be Haste Mastery, then a Verse Mastery Belt, the Crit Mastery Set Piece Pants, and then that would be enough for your 4-set, and then Haste Verse on the boots, and Verse Mastery and Haste Verse on the rings, or you can get a 262 Speed Ring with Verse Mastery. Either one is fine, because both stat priorities are very, very close. And then for your trinkets, you can use a medallion along with an emblem or an Aegis or an insignia. Now, I frequently swap between the 3 trinkets depending on what I'm fighting. If I'm fighting casters like Destrolock, Mage, or another Red Paladin, I'll run Aegis. If I'm fighting a Cleave, depending on if I think I can kite or not, I will play Emblem. Play Emblem if I think I have to face tank a lot more damage than I do. I'll play Emblem against Jungle Cleave if I need a bigger shield to save myself during long CC chains. But if I'm just trying to deal out max damage, the Insignia of Alacrity gives quite a bit of haste, especially the 285 version, which I don't have yet, but I will next week. But those are your primary gear setups. Now, I have another Red Paladin here that, for the sake of science, I have been gearing up a second one, and we are going to hop on them real quick, and I'm going to show you the difference in stat priorities and stat pieces that you can get for a haste build. The haste build is different than Ret. The advantages it gives you are you have more access to healing, you have more frequent access to burst, your globals are faster, you can bubble a little bit faster. All these things are really, really good, but your one-shot is still just slightly less than what it would be on a Mastery Red Paladin. Now, what I mean by that is if you're going to go haste, you're going to do the set headpiece, you're going to do the set shoulder piece, you're going to do the set chest piece, and the set gloves. Now that would give you your 4 set. For your legendary, you're gonna put haste versatility on your back, haste versatility on your legs, and then you're going to go haste verse on your neck piece, haste verse on your wrists, haste verse on your belt, haste verse on your boots, and then 1 haste verse ring and 1 verse mastery ring, and then you can go an alacrity. Insignia of Alacrity if you want. And if you really, really want a bunch of haste, you can take the Speed Ring, which is burst haste. And you can buy those off the auction house, for anywhere from, I don't know, 20 to 40k, depending on your server. Some servers, I'm sure, are even cheaper than that at this point in the patch. But yeah, it'd be between those set builds for Ret. Now, ideally, on my Ret right here, I have the perfect stat allocation, but I will be dropping a little tiny bit of haste when I lose my shoulders, because when you do convert your shoulders to the set piece, you are taking crit. You're sacrificing the haste and you're getting crit here, but you'll make up for a little bit on your gloves, with haste mastery here, and a little bit more on your chest, because this piece comes like 150 haste or so. So you'll be sitting somewhere around the 25-26% haste if you're running in Alacrity. And on this Red Paladin here, I just geared him up this week, so it took about 7 days to gear him up. We got our 2100, and we got a vault cap. We got our headpiece, and not too bad for a week on reset. But yeah, that would be the haste burst mastery setup for a Red Paladin. All right, back to the main Ret. So as we make our way over to the training dummy, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the differences of the haste and mastery builds. So the haste build provides you more frequent access to your Seraphim procs, because in Shadowlands, Art of War was changed to be based off of how often you're auto-attacking rather than a set number of procs per minute. This is reduced by Zeal and Blade of Wrath and your haste, which, in theory gives you more access to your Seraphim procs and more opportunities to reset your Wake of Ashes. Now this is great, but in my opinion, I really enjoy the Mastery build, which provides us with the largest possible one-shot. But seriously, both builds work. I've been playing both a Mastery Ret and a Haste Ret, and they both just feel great. There's very little difference, and I think you guys should pick whatever you want to pick. If you want to follow what Vanguards does and run the Haste build, go for that. If you want to follow what some of the top EU Rets are doing and go for the full Mastery build, you can go for that. You can even go for a balance between the two if you want. If, say, for example, you want to run my Mastery build here with the set bonuses, but, you want to run a little bit more haste, like maybe 15-16% haste at max, you could toss out the Mastery cape and the Mastery neck and make them haste, and you'll be chilling at around, 15-16% haste. Or you could just run an Alacrity and be sitting at about 13% haste, and, granted, when I upgrade this to 285 next week, I will probably be, I'm assuming, like maybe 2% more haste, so I'll be sitting around 15% haste, 43% mastery. Not a bad setup. All right, so let's get into the rotation now. So the baseline rotation for Ret Paladin is pretty standard. It's more of a priority system, and like I've said in prior guides, you want to make sure you are never overcapping your holy power while simultaneously keeping all your generators on cooldown in the order of Judgment, Blade of Justice, and prioritizing Crusader Strike last. If you do ever get a Hammer of Wrath proc from your Final Verdict Legendary, you can prioritize that over a Crusader Strike charge. The burst rotation is a little more static. It doesn't change too much depending on your procs. And it goes Judgment into a Vanquisher's Hammer as you're running at your target. Then you're going to Blade of Justice into a Stun, into a Wings, Templar's Verdict, Wake of Ashes if you don't get a Divine Purpose proc, into another Templar's Verdict, and that will use up both the charges of one Vanquisher's Hammer. And if you do get a Templar's proc, you're going to double Templars into another Vanquisher's Hammer, into a Wake of Ashes, into another Templars, and then continue on with your base rotation. And I will give you a quick example of what that looks like right here. Alright, so we're going to do a quick little example of the burst rotation. I just joined an arena skirm. We're against 2 warriors right here, which could be a pretty good example. Unfortunately, they're both going to die instantly. So what I want to do is I'm going to actually start with a slow on this warrior here. I'm going to Judge to a Vanquisher's Hammer, to a Blade of Justice. We're going to stun him before he reflects here. He trinkets into a Templars, we proc him, Wake of Ashes into a Vanquisher's Hammer, so we get our procs again, into a Templars, and we finish both of them off. Got insane procs right there. And to be fair, these warriors didn't really know what they were doing. But that's kind of a best case scenario. You get a Templars into a Divine Purpose Templars with a double proc on your Vanquisher's Hammer. Then you can reset your Vanquisher's Hammer by throwing it again, because you have 2 charges with the Unity Legendary here. And then you also get, another Divine Purpose proc on your next 3 Holy Power. And fantastic, you get out all 4 charges of your Divine Storm in 4 globals. Fantastic. Now, just an additional comment on the rotation. This is something that you guys really need to practice because you need maximum efficiency with your holy power. Because in PvP, you're not always going to be slamming out the Templar verdicts, but you do always want to have maximum holy power generation. That's because a lot of the times outside of your burst window with your Vanquisher's Hammers, your stuns, and your wings, you're going to be using that holy power on Word of Glory. So kiting away while generating holy power with Judgments and Blade of Justices and Vanquisher's Hammers. Also, while hitting pets with Crusader Strike while you're around the corner to generate holy power is super key in maximizing your efficiency with your rotation. So just make sure that you are never overcapping your holy power while simultaneously keeping as many of these things on cooldown as you can. And you'll notice your gameplay and your rating will go way up. Well, not just from that, but you get the gist. All right, now I'll talk about add-ons for a quick sec. I use the add-ons Omni CD to see my arena teammates' cooldowns right here. You can do /Omni CD and bring up the options. You can go into arena, into spells, and then you can click on the class and then the spells that you want to see. So for Paladin, I have checked off stuff like Rebuke, Blinding Light, Divine Shield, Blessing of Protection, Queen if I'm playing with a prod, Ultimate Sacrifice if I'm playing with a Holy Paladin. There's other things that you can track like Silence, Mass Dispel, Chastise, Psychic Scream for your teammates here. I use Omni Bar to track enemy CDs, which will appear. I have it on my screen. Let's see here. Omni. Is that it? No, /Omni Bar. There it is. Omni Bar. And if I do a test, yep, you can see all the cooldowns that I track. They will be in the upper left-hand corner. Obviously, it doesn't look like that jumbled mess because, you're not fighting every single class in the game, and they're not going to be popping every cooldown all at once. But that is how I track enemy CDs. And then I also use weak auras to customize my UI a little bit. So, for example, on my Paladin, I track my Virtuous Command right here. And I just made a little custom weak aura. You guys can make one too. Just all you got to do is press new aura and then click on trigger and then type in under names Virtuous Command, and that should bring up a little icon for Virtuous Command. And then you place it wherever you want on your screen, and you should be good to go. Let me get out of combat and reopen my weak auras real quick. I think I also have one more thing. I have time here. Let me double check I don't have anything else checked off. Your display wipes, not showing edges. You can show edge if you want. I do not. It's just a little bit different. Yeah, more or less, this is my weak auras here. They are mostly custom. There are a few non-custom weak auras, like the Banker's Hammer by Kevin. I'll leave a link in the description for that one, and then I'll leave another link to Vanguard's Discord or Mez Discord, where you can pull a bunch of individual weak auras if you don't feel like Googling them. Like a bunch of these weak auras, guys, you can just find online by Googling Double Tap and Echoing weak aura or Mind Games weak aura. You'll be able to find these. They'll be some of the first things on WAG.io or Wago. I forget how you say it. And then most of these are just custom spells here. Like I made one for Equinox when I play Night Fae. You know, there's a sudden death for my warrior, but that's more or less just custom weak auras that anyone can make by just typing the spell name on weak aura. As far as other add-ons go, I use Gladius. Let's see here, interface, battleground enemies for, you know, seeing nameplates and battlegrounds, or not nameplates, but frames on the side. I use big debuffs, make debuffs a little bit bigger. I run flat plate buffs. This add-on is occasionally broken, and you may have to do a little code editing to fix it. I'll leave a link in the description again. I made a quick video on which lines of code that you need to delete to make fly plate buffs work a while ago. You don't need handy notes for PvP. It's just something I ran for Zereth Mortis when I was chest farming. And then RE Flex, which will let you track your match history if you so desire up here. Some people want me to run Trophy GCD, but I just don't like it. I don't like seeing the thing flash up on my screen. I used to run it, but I'm sorry, I do not like it. And also I run details here, and then my stats displayed on the bottom right hand corner is actually another weak aura that you can Google. It's just like weak aura stats, something like that. All right, now I'm going to talk a little bit about macros. Now, macros on Paladin are super important because you have so many abilities that you need to use on your teammates and yourself. So, for example, I have 3 binds for freedom, 3 binds for bop, 3 binds for sanctuary, 3 binds for sacrifice, along with mouseover, word of glories, and flash of lights. And you will find all of these on the right side of my screen for the most part, and then also in modifiers on the bottom part of my screen. So for example, I want to freedom myself or a mouseover freedom. I can press R, and this will let me just freedom myself or my mouseover target. If I press 5, I have the name of my healer in the macro right here, and you can put, you know, as many healers in your macro as you want, or you can put something like party 1 as your target. If they are party 1, but then you'll have to make sure you promote them to leader, or someone goes to leader for party 1. This will let you freedom just your healer with your freedom keybind. If I press shift in the upper right hand corner, I have another freedom for my DPS. This will let me just quickly DPS freedom. And that same principle applies to all of my blessings here. Sacrifice, sanctuary, bop, freedom, along with word of glory and flash of light. I have one for each of either myself or mouseover, and then my healer and or my DPS, depending on if I'm playing 2s or 3s arena. I will leave all my macros in the description. I also have a burst macro here, just pops, you know, if I have an online, if I have a saltwater potion or an on-use trinket, not online trinket, what am I talking about? If I have a badge of ferocity, which I haven't had since season 1, I'll put it in the burst macro. You can also have mouseover macros for your abilities here, which I'll leave in the description. A focus kick macro, which is just a shift modifier macro. It kicks my primary target if I'm not holding shift, and if I'm holding shift, this will kick my focus target. That same principle applies to Hammer of Justice, which I will leave in the description. I have a shift modifier macro for my Templar's Verdict and my Divine Storm. This lets me just press my U keybind on my mouse to press Templar's Verdict, and if I hold shift, it will do Divine Storm instead. Same principle, you know, that applies to the shift modifier, kick, and hodge macros. I have macros to change the look of my Shield of Vengeance into the old Sacred Shield model. If you guys do that, I can't necessarily link it. You're going to have to go find the icon yourself, this page. And let me tell you, it took me a while to find it. I also run a emblem macro along with a Shield of Vengeance. This just pops the emblem prior to the Shield of Vengeance, which gives you a larger shield in PvP. And then I also have a shift modifier focus macro for my Hand of Hindrance. Again, these macros will pretty much all be in the description. If I'm forgetting stuff, or if you see a macro that I did not remember to put in the description, just let me know in the comments and I will get that to you. A Final Reckoning macro, what this does right here is it lets me just launch my Final Reckoning at my cursor real quick. So Final Reckoning is on my 1 keybind, and it gets rid of the green targeting circle, and I just can just boop. There you go, Final Reckoning right wherever my mouse is located. It's kind of a personal preference thing. You do not have to run that if you do not want to. I'm going to talk about comps for a little bit. Ret in 9.2 is not nearly as strong, or at least as meta as it was last patch. This is mainly due to the fact that a rogue, mage lock, and even elemental shamans are making a comeback in 9.2, and those are traditionally the Ret counters. Destro lock in particular and the resolve trinket have made it very difficult for Ret to land any CC or kicks, along with warriors too, which warriors were primarily Ret's main partner last season. Now Ret warrior is still a pretty decent comp. I'd rate it as maybe like A minus, B plus tier. Cupid is actually, I would say, better than it was last patch. Hunters are massively better than they were last patch due to the set bonus increase, the double legendary. They're now very tanky against Mage Lock in particular because they can feign death, bolts in the air, along with being able to just dot damage up the enemy as a survival hunter and kind of line of sight. So if you wanted to run Cupid in 3s, I would definitely recommend that over Ret Warrior, at least at the moment. Ret Warrior can still pull off some insane one-shots and does fairly well into enemy cleaves. It's up to you if you want to run each of those comps. Another comp that is kind of on the come up, which is mainly because Warlock's overpowered, is Ret Warlock. Both Ret Affliction and Ret Destro are decent. With Ret Affliction, you can literally just Hammer of Justice your kill target and not really worry about it getting dispelled because, as long as your Unstable Affliction Lock has his debuff up, if the enemy dispels it, he's going to be taking a lot of damage and getting silenced. And as Ret Destro is just absolutely bonkers and can kind of one-shot randomly whenever they get their 4-piece proc. So, yeah, those are viable comps. In my opinion, if you are a new Ret Paladin, I would recommend Ret Warrior. It's kind of the simplest, just zug do damage. Cupid requires a decent amount of setup still, but is better than last patch. And if you want to kind of play the bottom comp at the moment, flavor of the month, then go with Ret Warlock, because Destro is just OP and Affliction is very good as well. As far as healers go, mainly the best healer in the game at the moment, to no one's surprise, is Holy Priests. Holy Priests are above and beyond OP. Please nerf Blizzard ASAP. They are disgusting in 2s. I tracked a game of 2s the other week, a session of 2s. 23 out of 25 games played on my alt Ret were against Holy Priest DPS, and it was mainly Holy Priest Hunter or Holy Priest Demon Hunter or Holy Priest Rogue. Those comps were just insane. But, we managed to beat them. But yeah, please nerf anyway. Final thoughts, guys. So, when you are playing a Ret Paladin, in 2s at least, I recommend double DPS. And I recommend you play more of a supportive role where your teammate is just the slayer of the enemy. Now, you can go in when you have extra hammer charges and when you have your Avenging Wrath. But outside of that, you're going to be kind of kiting away with Law and Order and Unbound Freedom and living as long as possible, using a line of sight to the best of your ability, and trying to get those Shield of Vengeance resets. And even sometimes you can live to your second bubble if your teammates help you peel enough. If you are running healer Ret Paladin in 2s, have fun, good luck. Some of the top Rets in 2s run Priest Ret, but you are just at such a disadvantage into Rogue teams and into Demon Hunter teams playing Ret Healer. You're going to kind of have to pray that you just get some Hunters in there and just one-tap the Hunter before he feign deaths, something like that. But yeah, guys, practice up, watch some videos. I have plenty of games going over my my 2s and my 3s with commentary. And let me know if you enjoyed the guide. If you have any further questions, drop them down below. Follow me on Twitch, follow me on Twitter, and I will see you all next time. Enjoy. Peace.